Let me tell you about an epiphany that I just had. I honestly was just going to work today. It's just a Sunday, don't have a whole lot going on. Usually I just spend Sundays getting caught up or getting ready for the work week. But I went to a coffee shop and I was reading some things and thinking about just the current dilemma in my life. And I had an epiphany. I just wanted to make a video on it. And really, I'm just probably kind of talking to myself right now. But I, of course, many others, am afraid of rejection socially. Um, like it's terrifying to me. And I think as people and as humans, we find ways to get around, or we'll do the mental gymnastics, as people say, to get around certain behaviors or neuroses um, that we have. And so one of mine is I am scared, terrified, and really like to avoid opportunities to be rejected. And I just figured out one of the mental tricks that wasn't super apparent to me that I have been exercising. I mean, seriously, for like the last couple of years. And that's, I have like an ideal version of myself. I can imagine a version of myself that is ideal and is self actualized and doesn't struggle with the things that I do now. And I think that it can be good to be able to imagine that version of yourself. And I don't think that that in and of itself is an issue. It's good to have goals and it's good to be able to see or imagine your life when those goals are met, or if you're able to start doing another behavior or get rid of another behavior. Being able to imagine and envision that self, that's okay, and actually that's good. But one thing that I was doing was I began to defer to this future self that doesn't exist. And here's an example. So I let's say there's a cute girl at the coffee shop, or there's just a cute girl anywhere, even like in a class or at work or whatever. There's a cute girl, and you want to ask her out. There's a part of you that wants to ask her out, or maybe not even just ask her out, just talk to her, initiate a conversation. You of course face some sort of rejection in going into that. I mean, if you don't know her and you're just going up to someone and you initiate that conversation, you are in a position of potential rejection. And when I do the math, because I've had that experience before, where you want to go up and talk to someone, you will do the math, and every time, the way that I do it, it's never worth it. Because let's say I go up to this girl or this person and I get rejected. But the prospect or probability of that happening, whatever it actually is, the potential downside of that, to me, is not worth the potential upside. And the upside being, of course, like a relationship or just a good conversation or whatever, right? And so, what I would do is, because there's a sense of loss when you forego that opportunity and you leave the coffee shop or you leave the class or you never ask that person out. There's a sense of loss, because you've lost an opportunity. Even though you had the chance to take it, you still sense that feeling of loss, because that opportunity is no longer there. And so what I was doing, because to deal with that sense of loss and to kind of try to make sense of never putting myself out there, was I would say, you know, the current person that I am isn't going to be the person that's asking people out or going up to people, but there is um, a version of me that will. And it's an idealized version of myself, because I can imagine myself going up to someone and initiating a conversation. I can imagine that, and I can imagine the type of person that would do that, and I can imagine that person as me. And so it's almost like kind of what I'm saying is there is just I'm at point A, point B is this future self, and the distance there is self-help. Maybe it's going to the gym or dieting or getting rid of XYZ habit or behavior that you don't want to exhibit anymore. And it's almost like I'm saying that that is the distance. And so as soon as I get in really good shape, as soon as I have a six pack and I'm on this really consistent diet and I get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning and go to the gym, then I'm going to be the type of person that goes up to someone, and I can't even imagine that type of person getting rejected. And so I also will kind of vicariously even live through that person in that moment. I will imagine myself as that person. And while I am so I'm kind of like in that moment at the coffee shop, current Taylor is literally sparing others of himself and deferring to a future self years down the road, who knows when, because it's a vague thing. It's not clear when I'm going to be that person, and that's kind of the paradox of this whole thing is that's just not even it's not accurate. It's not actually how things work. I'm not just going to one day wake up and be that that self. And so I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. So I am deferring to this person. So it's almost like I'm saying I am going to go up to that girl, but it's just not today. And it's just not me. It's going to be this other person, but it's going to happen. And so I somehow am like reserving that opportunity for a future self, and I'm confident enough that it's not the last time it'll ever happen. And so you can do that, I've learned, for pretty long time. I'm 24 and I've been doing that at least for 2 or 3 years. Um, and I haven't arrived at that ideal self who says, okay, I'm ready to go up to that person and face the chance of rejection. I haven't arrived at that yet. And I don't think I ever will, because I don't think that that person actually exists. And what's funny is all of this is from a fear of being rejected, but isn't concealing yourself from others and sparing others of yourself a form of rejection? Except in this case, it's not the girl you're asking out that's rejecting you, it's you rejecting you. And so you actually kind of achieve the same effect of external rejection, but you did it by internal means. You did it by rejecting yourself and foregoing those experiences, those potential conversations, those potential relationships. Um, and just like someone might choose someone else over you, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're choosing someone else, your future ideal self, over you currently. And this just adds to the confusion of life. This kind of thinking doesn't make your life simple. It makes it actually a lot more complicated, because now you're dealing with this timeline, and you're dealing with a future vague self-actualized version of yourself that you're, like I had mentioned earlier, almost kind of vicariously living through. Uh, but the outcome is is just nothing. You're just rejecting. You're never, like, nothing actually is happening. You're just managing the way that you feel inside and trying to develop a perspective that, like, it is actually outside. It doesn't exist in reality. So anyway, I realized that when I was trying to kind of say, okay, the distance between point A right now and point B, this version of yourself that is improved, that you're hoping has the courage and whatever it takes to go up to that person. You'll one day have that. You'll one day be that person. The distance and the difference between you and that person right now is not self help. It's not a book. It's not a concept. It's not a diet. It's not getting in shape. It's not a skincare routine. It's not any of that. If there is a distance really between you and that person, I really only think that it could be experience. And that's really what you're robbing yourself of, is experience. And from experience comes wisdom. And you need to get rejected, or you need to put yourself out there and learn how to gather the courage to do those things, because really that's how you're going to get. The only way out is through. The only way out is through. Yeah, you have to face those fears, get that experience, probably get rejected because it's good for you in the long run, and that's how you get to point B. That's how you get to person B. You're not going to get to that person by all the classic self-help things. Not that those things aren't going to help in some way, but there's no substitute for that experience. And so don't reject yourself. Don't conceal yourself from others. Bet on yourself. And if you're going to get rejected, don't let it be yourself. Let it be someone else. Because at least internally you'll have a platform to stand on. Because if you're already rejecting yourself and then somehow you also get rejected in the external world, you don't have a platform to stand on. That external rejection from someone else, whether it be professional, romantic, whatever, is going to be 10 times, maybe infinitely times more painful, because you're going to take it in a way that's probably more severe than it really is, because internally you have already rejected yourself. And if there was any sort of, and you were just praying for some redemption, and if it wasn't internal, it was going to be external. And if it's not there, you're going to find yourself feeling kind of bad for really no reason. And so, bet on yourself right now. Don't reject yourself. Put yourself out there. Because the odds are if you're just doing this thing where you kind of reject yourself and you're not even putting yourself out there, you're going to miss 100% of those shots. That's stupid saying. You've already taken yourself 100% out of the game. At least if you're going up to people and you're putting the potential for rejection really in their court, making it their decision, your chances aren't 0%. Okay? And so don't take yourself out of the game completely, and you're going to get rejected. That's just life. I think that everyone is going to experience some version of rejection. It's inevitable. Don't run away from it, because you just rob yourself from experience. So the only you is the you right now, and the only way that you're going to get to this potentially, self-actualized version of yourself is the experience of your current self. That's it. So you're you right now. Don't be like me and try to live vicariously through a version of yourself that doesn't exist. Don't defer to the future for experience or things that you really deep down just want to do. Just try to be that person right now. So, anyway, those were my thoughts, and I guess to summarize all of that, the epiphany, I guess, was in trying to avoid rejection, you end up getting rejected. It's just that the rejecter is you, and you achieve the same effects of external rejection just via internal means. So that was kind of the epiphany there, and I think that the kind of takeaway is, if someone's going to bet on you, have it be yourself, and you can't control what other people do or think, but you can control what you do or think. So don't reject yourself. Anyway, thank you.